From The Australian, here's what's on the front. I'm Claire Harvey. It's Friday, May 17. Peter Dutton is proposing a dramatic federal intervention into the criminal justice system to make Australians safer, including tougher knife laws, a crackdown on bail, and new Commonwealth laws prohibiting domestic violence offenders using digital technology to stalk or control their victims. Coming up later in the episode, we've got a Friday treat for you, a dive into the glamour and the silliness of Australian Fashion Week, which has just wrapped. Our expert from Vogue Australia tells us why we might all be wearing bonnets before too long, and why even in today's tough economic climate, designers think it's worthwhile spending $100,000 or more to stage a runway show. Stay with us.
I give the call to the Honourable the Leader of the Opposition.
If the federal budget is a bit like school speech night, with everyone wearing their best suits and making very important speeches, the Thursday after budget is muck-up day, when the kids get to go a bit wild. Jim Chalmers delivered a big, ambitious budget on Tuesday, designed to ease the cost of living, crush inflation and get Labor re-elected. And on Thursday night, muck-up day, Peter Dutton got to deliver his budget in reply. When you're in opposition, you don't actually have to make all the numbers add up like the government does. You can use the platform to go beyond budget policy and go big on vision. Last year, Peter Dutton used his budget in reply to make the case for nuclear power. This year, Dutton's gone for another big theme: the safety of women and everyone in our society.
The Coalition Government will provide much needed leadership in tackling knife crime. We will work with states and territories to develop uniform knife laws across all jurisdictions. Laws which will give police the powers to stop and search using detector wands like Queensland's Jack's Law. And laws which will limit and restrict the sale and possession of knives to minors and dangerous individuals.
Dutton is calling on his law and order credentials.
As a former police officer, the horrific scenes of beaten women and distraught children I encountered stay with me to this day, as do the memories of taking women who were shaking with fear to shelters and safe homes and helping them relocate with their children to safety.
Dutton's promising a radical overhaul of the way crime and justice, which are usually left to the states and territories, will be handled. He's promising to tighten bail laws, but hasn't said how he'll get the Labor states to fall into line.
Recently, Molly Ticehurst, a 28-year-old mother from New South Wales, was murdered because her violent ex-partner was on bail. A coalition government will make it an offence to use mobile phones and computer networks to cause an intimate partner or family member fear for their personal safety, to track them using spyware, or to engage in coercive behaviours. We will toughen the bail laws that apply to these new Commonwealth offences.
The budget in reply is also a platform to sledge the government.
This Labor government has made life so much tougher for Australians. This Labor government has set our country on a very dangerous course. It started with the Prime Minister's Voice referendum. Not only did it waste $450 million, which could have helped families with the cost of living pressures that you're now facing, the referendum also divided our nation. You, your family, your children and our country can't afford another 3 years of this government. I know how to make decisions to get our country back on track.
It's been a big week for politics and crime, so join us as we put one stiletto in front of the other and strut right into Fashion Week. Don't forget to subscribe to The Australian at theaustralian.com.au. It's amazing value, all Australia's best journalism 24/7, and it won't make you look ridiculous. Check it out at theaustralian.com.au, and we'll be back after this break.
Hello, sexy angels. I cannot wait to see what the girls are wearing. What are you wearing? What are you wearing? What are you wearing?
What's a fashion trend that you can't get enough of?
I'm absolutely loving her.
My sunglasses are Dolce & Gabbana from Designer Eye.
Outfit 1, this is for the Eric Von show.
Hello! We're doing white sands today for our runway show. Yeah, so we're going to be naked pretty much. Except they won't let me wear bikini because I'm only 16.
Really?
Yeah.
Francesca Wallace is Vogue Australia's digital director. Francesca, you've been down at Fashion Week this week. What have you seen on the runway first?
There's lots going on, lots of emerging designers, which has been really, really nice to see. Amy Lawrence was a standout for me. She's an incredible Melbourne-based designer who was doing the most beautiful kind of structural gowns, these gorgeous little sort of headpieces and bonnets, which I think will become very popular. And Rory William Doherty, who's a New Zealand-based designer who's doing some very interesting work with prints and layering and texture. I think both really exciting names for us to watch. Also, lots going on in the street because it is such an important part of Fashion Week now as well, what goes on outside the shows. So yeah, lots of red, lots of Western and cowboy-inspired outfits. There's a lot of metallics, a lot of sheer, a lot of little caps and hats.
I've seen a story on Vogue Australia about tiny hats, in particular leather berets. You mentioned bonnets. Are Australians willing to embrace the hat, do you think, in anything more than just a straw hat at the beach?
I think we might be. I think the tide may be shifting on the hat. I, for one, am very excited about that because I love a cap. I think the cap is the gateway hat into the rest of the hats. So
that's a relief. I was worrying about the bonnet.
Yeah, don't worry. That's the advanced level. Everyone else can start with a cap and work their way upwards. This season and what's been brewing over the last couple of years is a real sense of personal style. I think that's something that we talk about a lot at Vogue, and we're really glad that it's permeated the kind of cultural conversation. And I do think that's a lot in part to TikTok because that encourages individuality in a sense. It also encourages a lot of conformity, which is another element of it. But there's also this generation that are growing up with the idea that, you know, you really want to express your personal style, and they're sort of learning about personal style a lot earlier than I think many of us, and I know that I did.
The past decade's biggest trend has been activewear, taking your joggers to work and the cocktail bar, maybe even with a sports bra and a bum bag. That's largely due to Pip Edwards, the designer behind athleisure label PE Nation. It's full of big, bold prints and Pip's own initials emblazed on everything. She's used this Fashion Week to relaunch the label completely.
Do you want to introduce yourself?
Oh, yeah,
I
hi.
mean, you don't really need an introduction, but like...
I'm Pip Edwards, the co-founder and creative director of PE Nation.
What are you wearing? I need to ask that
I am
first.
wearing PE Nation.
Naturally.
Edwards is smart enough to use Fashion Week not as an opportunity to flex, but to sell.
Pip is definitely a marketing genius, and there was a lot of change with this collection. I think what we're seeing now is activewear as ready-to-wear. In Australia, we've been wearing activewear as clothing for a long time, but what's different about this is it felt like there were more pieces that you could wear in the everyday rather than just for exercising. There were also a lot less logos. The colours were a lot more muted. You kind of want these basics to work harder for you, and you can wear something like a pant or a legging or a short not just to work out, but you can also wear it and actually look really great wearing it out to lunch or to dinner. So I don't think that's going anywhere, and Australians absolutely love a piece of activewear that can do double duty for them.
This year marks the 28th anniversary of Fashion Week. When it started, the buyers for department stores of London and New York were the most powerful forces, along with magazine editors. Now everything has changed. The power has shifted to online retailers like Net-a-Porter and to influencers. The cost of staging a show is immense.
I've heard of shows that have nudged into the six figures, over $100,000 more than that. You have to pay for models, you have to pay for makeup artists, hair. There's seating, there's music, there's the whole AV production that goes into it. You have to pay for something as simple as shoes can be extremely expensive if you don't make them yourself. And then there's, of course, all the PR and the marketing that goes into it and the guest list and everything that creates a whole lot of management. So it's very expensive. It can be very confronting for a lot of, especially emerging designers. So I think the industry does have to take a look at how it's supporting young designers and see where we can lift them up there.
Australia's fashion industry is facing the same manufacturing and cost of production challenges that are making onshore production so hard for all manufacturers.
Obviously, manufacturing locally is extremely expensive. We're all looking for Australian-made clothes, but is it too expensive to actually make them in Australia? How do we mitigate that? And Vogue was a part of an event last week actually at Kirribilli House with Jodie Hayden, and that was all about the fashion and the tech innovation space to make this a more viable industry locally, but also just the shipping costs and the staff costs and all the sort of logistics. And you do have to realistically fly to Paris and New York a couple of times a year to sell your product, to sort of be there and do the sales directly with the buyers. So there's all this travel, all these prohibitive costs that can really add up as well, which is why the clothes that are made here are so expensive, which we personally think at Vogue that it's a worthwhile investment, but that's not always the case, and not every customer, especially with the cost of living crisis, is sort of able to afford those clothes.
Francesca Wallace is Vogue's digital director. Check out their coverage of Fashion Week at vogue.com.au. Thanks for being with us this week on The Front. Our team is Kristen Amiet, Lia Tsamoglou, Joshua Burton, Jasper Leak, Tiffany Dimmack, Matthew Condon, and me, Claire Harvey. Don't forget to join our subscribers and support Australia's best journalism at theaustralian.com.au.